Hi everyone! It's my first time posting here. My name is Kate. I'm 23 years old. I work at a diner that I love, and I spend most of my free time with my best friend, Jake. It all started a few months ago when I met a guy named Ross. He was charming, good-looking, and seemed like a genuinely nice person. We hit it off immediately, and before I knew it, we were dating. However, things started to change when I introduced him to my friends. At first, I thought it was just me being paranoid, but after a while, it became clear that Ross had a problem with Jake. He would always make snide comments about him, and every time we hung out with him, Ross would find a way to leave early. I tried to talk to him about it, but he would always brush it off and say he just didn't like Jake's personality. It wasn't until a few weeks ago that I found out the real reason. Jake had been seeing a therapist for the past year, and Ross had somehow found out. He thought that Jake was weak for needing therapy and that he wasn't a real man. I was shocked and disgusted by Ross's behavior, and I knew that I had to do something about it. That's where my plan came in. I decided to throw a party at my house and invite all of our friends, including Ross and Jake. However, I made sure to invite a few extra people as well. These were people who I knew didn't particularly like Ross and would be more than happy to help me out. The night of the party arrived, and everything was going great. We were all having fun, drinking, and playing games. Then I saw Ross making his way to the kitchen. I followed him, pretending that I needed another drink, and caught him pouring something into Jake's drink. "What are you doing?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ross looked up, surprised to see me. "Just adding a little something to Jake's drink," he said casually. "What is it?" "Just a little laxative. I thought it would be funny," he said with a smirk. "That's not funny, Ross. That's disgusting." "Oh, lighten up, Kate. It's just a joke." At that moment, I knew that my plan was going to work perfectly. I walked back into the living room and announced that we were all going to play a game. It was a simple game of truth or dare, but I had a plan. I made sure that Ross was the first one to go. "Truth or dare, Ross?" I asked with a smile. "Dare," he said confidently. "I dare you to drink the cup of water that's been sitting in the sink all day," I said, pointing to the cup on the counter. Ross hesitated for a moment, looking around the room for support. However, nobody was going to help him out. Everyone knew what he had done, and they were all eager to see him get what he deserved. With a look of disgust on his face, Ross picked up the cup and took a big gulp. The room erupted in laughter as Ross ran to the bathroom, retching and gagging. "That's what you get, Ross," I said, feeling a sense of satisfaction that I had never felt before. As Ross stumbled out of the bathroom, his face twisted with rage. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" He spat at me. "Well, let me tell you something, Kate. You may have won this little game, but I'll get you back 10 times worse. You just wait and see." I could feel my heart racing as Ross took a step towards me, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. I knew that I needed to act fast before he did something that he would regret. "Ross, stop," I said firmly, taking a step back. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is not the person that I want to be with. I'm breaking up with you." Ross's eyes widened in shock. "What? You can't be serious." "I am serious," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "I can't be with someone who would do something like that to my friend. And if you think that you can threaten me or anyone else, then you're not the kind of person that I want to have in my life." With that, I grabbed Ross's arm and led him towards the door. He tried to resist, but I was stronger than he was. As I pushed him out of the house, I could hear him shouting obscenities and threats at me, but I didn't care. I was relieved as I closed the door and locked it behind him. It was over. I had stood up for myself and my friend, and I had gotten rid of someone who didn't deserve to be in my life. I turned around to see Jake looking at me with a mixture of gratitude and concern. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just glad that it's over." Jake put his arm around me, and together we went back into the living room to rejoin our friends. As we sat down on the couch, I realized that I had never felt more empowered in my life. I had stood up for what was right, and I had come out on top, And as for Ross, well, he could try to get revenge all he wanted. But I knew that I was stronger than he was, and that I would never let him or anyone else bring me down again. It all started at a summer camp when I was 14. My name is Olivia, and I'm a 28-year-old woman now. At that time, I met my childhood best friend, Emma. Emma was the most bubbly and cheerful person I've ever met. We immediately clicked and became inseparable for the rest of the summer. Years passed, and we remained close friends despite the distance. We texted and called each other almost every day, shared our deepest secrets, and supported each other through thick and thin. Emma had always been my rock, my confidant, and my sister. One day, when Emma was 24 and I was 25, she called me in tears. She had just found out that her boyfriend of 4 years had been cheating on her with her best friend, Jess. Jess had been a close friend of Emma's for years, and she had no idea how long this affair had been going on. I was fuming. I couldn't believe Jess could do this to Emma, who had always been so kind and caring to her. Emma was devastated and heartbroken, and I vowed to help her get revenge on Jess. We spent the next few weeks brainstorming ideas on how to make Jess pay for what she had done. We came up with a plan that was so devious, it would make anyone's head spin. One day, Emma received an invitation to Jess's wedding. Apparently, Jess and Emma's ex-boyfriend had gotten engaged and were planning to get married in 2 months. Emma was heartbroken again, but I saw this as an opportunity to exact our revenge. I suggested that we attend the wedding, but not as guests. Instead, we would crash the wedding and reveal the affair to everyone, including the bride's family and friends. Emma was hesitant at first, but I convinced her that this was the perfect revenge. The day of the wedding arrived, and Emma and I dressed up in our best outfits. We sneaked into the wedding venue and hid behind a large plant near the entrance. We waited until the ceremony began, and Jess walked down the aisle in her white dress. As soon as the priest began the ceremony, I stood up and shouted, "Stop the wedding!" Everyone turned to look at me, including Jess and her fiancé. "What the hell are you doing here?" Jess asked, clearly surprised to see me. "I'm here to tell everyone the truth about your affair with Emma's ex-boyfriend," I said, a smirk spreading across my face. There was a stunned silence as everyone processed what I had just said. Then, Emma stood up and walked over to the altar, holding up her phone. "I have evidence of their affair," she said, pressing play on a video. The video showed Emma's ex-boyfriend and Jess in a compromising position. The bride's family and friends gasped, and the groom looked mortified. Jess tried to deny everything, but the evidence was too overwhelming. The wedding was called off, and Jess was humiliated in front of everyone. As Emma and I walked out of the venue, I turned to her and said, "That was the best revenge ever." Emma smiled and said, "I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Olivia." I shrugged and said, "That's what best friends are for. Besides, who messes with Emma and gets away with it?" From that day on, Emma and I became even closer, and we knew that no one could ever come between us. As for Jess, well, let's just say she learned a tough lesson about messing with the wrong people. I'm not a vengeful person, but I don't take kindly to bullies. My name is Sophie, and I'm a 25-year-old college graduate who recently moved to a new city for a job in marketing. I thought I'd made some new friends when I met a group of people at a coffee shop near my apartment, but it turns out they were just looking for someone to pick on. It all started when I shared a photo on social media of a DIY project I was working on, a new headboard for my bed. I was pretty proud of it, and I thought it would be nice to share with my new friends. But instead of getting compliments, I got ridiculed. One of the guys, a smug 27-year-old named Chad, said my project looked like something a kindergartner would make. I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was just joking around. But it only got worse from there. Every time I talked about something I was interested in or proud of, Chad and his cronies would mock me or belittle me. It got to the point where I didn't even want to share anything about myself anymore. I started to avoid them, but they seemed to take pleasure in following me around and making fun of me in public. One day, I was walking to a yoga class when I saw them coming toward me. I tried to hurry past them, but Chad blocked my path. Well, 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 look who it is, he said, grinning. Little Miss DIY, what do you have for us today? I tried to walk around him, but he stepped in front of me again. Come on, show us something. Maybe a macaroni necklace? I was seething with anger, but I refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing me upset. Instead, I just brushed past him and kept walking. But as I sat in yoga class, seething with anger, I started to come up with a plan. I was going to show Chad and his friends that I wasn't someone they could just bully and walk all over. I was going to get revenge. I started by doing some research on Chad. I found out that he had a pretty big ego and loved to be the center of attention. So I started posting fake job ads on Craigslist and other job sites advertising a dream job with a 6-figure salary in Chad's field. The catch: applicants had to submit a video of themselves singing "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston. Chad, of course, couldn't resist. He spent hours practicing and perfecting his rendition of the song and then sent in his video. But instead of getting a call back for an interview, he got a response from me. Sorry, Chad, but you didn't make the cut. Your performance wasn't quite up to par. I could practically hear him screaming in frustration from across town. But I wasn't done yet. I sent fake rejection emails to all the other people who submitted videos too, just to make it seem like it was a legitimate job search. Chad tried to confront me about it, but I just played dumb. I don't know what you're talking about, Chad. Maybe you just weren't good enough for the job. He stormed off in a huff, but I could see the rage boiling beneath the surface. He was the type of person who couldn't handle being humiliated, and I knew I had him right where I wanted him. Over the next few weeks, I stepped up my revenge game. I hacked into Chad's social media accounts and posted embarrassing photos and videos, like the time he got so drunk he passed out in a public restroom, or the time he tried to do a backflip off a diving board and belly flopped into the water. I even started spreading rumors about him around town, telling people that he had a secret obsession with collecting stuffed animals and that he had a bizarre fear of cucumbers. At first, Chad and his friends tried to retaliate. They sent me angry messages and even tried to prank me a few times, but I was always one step ahead of them. I knew all their favorite hangout spots and the bars they liked to go to, so I would show up before them and pay off the bartenders to give them watered, down drinks or refuse to serve them altogether. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it to see Chad and his friends squirming in frustration. They couldn't figure out who was behind all the pranks and the rumors, and it was driving them crazy. One day, Chad cornered me in the coffee shop where we had first met. "Okay, Sophie," he said, his face red with anger. "What's your problem? Why are you doing all this to us?" I just smirked at him. "You really don't get it, do you? You and your friends have been bullying me ever since we met. You've made fun of everything I do and say, and you've made me feel like crap. So now it's my turn to make you feel a little uncomfortable." Chad looked like he was about to explode, but I just turned on my heel and walked out of the coffee shop, feeling triumphant. The revenge didn't stop there, though. I kept up my pranks and my rumors for months, until finally Chad and his friends had had enough. They confronted me one last time, telling me that they were going to get the police involved if I didn't stop harassing them. I just laughed in their faces. "You're the ones who started it," I said, "and now you're reaping what you sow." In the end, Chad and his friends left me alone. They knew they couldn't win against me, and they didn't want to risk getting caught up in any legal trouble. I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that I had taken control of the situation and taught them a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. I may not have made any lifelong friends from that experience, but at least I learned that I'm not someone to mess with.